Runa leads Djinn through the twisted port streets. Night has settled over the city, and only a few lanterns cut through the darkness. Runa is sure of the way and darts between the circles of illuminated cobblestone. The bustling energy of the port has given way to cloaked figures that prefer doing business under the cover of darkness. Runa is unfazed by their presence. It pays to know people who move in the shadows, especially when one of the currencies you deal with is secrets. How long have you known the captain? Djinn is doing his best to keep track of the paths the pair is turning down without losing Runa. Eventually, he gives up on the idea of backtracking and focuses on keeping up. Not quite as long as you have, it would seem. I've traveled with him for a year or two now, I think. I've largely stopped keeping track, though. What of yourself? I seem to run into Mazrin here and there, always when I least expect it. She passes by an idle wind chime and clicks it 3 times with her ring finger and mutters something about frightening away spirits. My sister and I traveled with him some time ago from Sabania to Nathair. I see. The captain does tend to do that. Never stay in one place too long, so on and so forth. What brought you both to relocate here? Runa passes a figure leaning against the wall. A watchful eye might have caught a small envelope passing from her to the man's open hand, but Runa's pace continues unchanged. Now that is a story. The short version is that we discovered our family had ties to a once powerful guild that fell after the cataclysm. The long story, she trails off. We'll share the long story over a tankard back on the Hawk. The streets here have ears, and they all have a price. That sounds like a plan. Djinn attempts to take in the patterns of the port streets. I have no idea how people can navigate the city like this. I've rarely ever seen anything like it. It does take a while to get your bearings, and I suppose you wouldn't be much of a wandering bard if you always knew where you were going. Luckily, I can show you a shortcut back to the port. Runa turns down a wide street as the untamed garden comes into view. That'll make getting you set up on the ship easier. Oh, I didn't think of this earlier. What'll become of Cat? Runa pulls open the latch on the door and pauses. Do you think Captain would mind terribly if I brought her along? The first time I left, we returned to find so much time had passed outside the mists. I was fully surprised to see her still manning the shop. Or I suppose she would be catting the shop. She might need a name other than Cat. But I think there's a spot in the crew that's made just for her. Djinn cracks a bit of a mischievous grin, which if you're around him for more than a day, you'd realize he's always got light-hearted schemes in the works. Now, where do we start with the apothecary?